Hello, welcome back to Keeping It Real with Karina. Today we're going to be talking about the film Parasite, filmed by Bong Joon-ho, and basically how this is going to go is this beginning part, I'm just going to talk about the plot and relevant events, and then for the second part, I'll have a guest speaker with me so we can discuss the symbolism within the film and other themes that have been displayed. And then lastly, we'll go into just our opinions as well as looking at the movie reviews like I always do. Just a heads up, this is a spoiler warning, so if you are expecting to see this movie, do not be listening to this. It also came out in 2019, by the way, just in case you were wondering. So basically, how the movie happens is there's this family, which is a poor family, and they're called the Kim family. And there's a son named Kevin who has a friend telling him that he used to work for a rich family called the Parks. And they basically have a child that needs a tutor, and since that friend is leaving, he was telling Kevin that he should take the spot. So the poor family tries to get all of them to work for this family. So Kevin runs a whole plan to get his sister to be the art teacher, to get his dad to be the driver, and then his mom to be the maid. But in order to do that, the previous employees need to get kicked out. And then after the whole family is in on this, and now they are the workers for this rich family, the Park family goes on a camping trip for their son's birthday. And then suddenly, when the Kim family is in the house, the old maid that used to work for them comes over, and she is this is when it gets really strange. She's talking about her husband, who apparently has been living in the basement for years and can't come up because of debt and something that he did. So she tries to get into the basement, and she shows them. And at the time, she didn't know that the new workers are all a family. So accidentally, she finds out that they're all they were all in on this, and she tries to blackmail them because she got a video of the son saying something about his dad. And then this is when the Park family, they find out, is coming back because the camping trip went not good because of the rain. So the Kim family kicks the woman down, they tie up the husband and her, they lock them down to the basement, and all this happens in a spur of events that is so fast. But then they have to hide because obviously only the maid was supposed to be home, which is the mother of the Kim family. And the Park family comes back, and it's just a normal time. They're just can you make food for our son? But he doesn't end up eating it. And then later on, they plan nothing. They never figured out anything happening then, but the woman and her husband are still tied up in the basement. And then later on, the son of the rich family is having his actual birthday celebration, and it's being thrown. So the entire Kim family is invited, but obviously the Park family, which is the rich ones, didn't know that they're all family yet. So they're just do you want to come since you're the art teacher, and since you're the maid, stuff like that. And then somehow when this party's happening, the man in the basement escapes and he gets out, and the first thing he does is he hits Kevin because he was down there to see what was going on, but he didn't realize this man got out. And then the other woman that was tied down there, she got a concussion, so she passed away. But as this man is getting out, he also stabs the daughter of the Kim family named Jessica, and everything's happening outside still. There's a birthday party, and they're so confused where this man came from, and the Kim family is trying to escape. But then as Mr. Kim is obviously mourning his daughter, the son of the rich family has a seizure because all the stress got to him. So as the Park family is yelling at him since he's their driver to give him the keys, he sees that Mr. Park does a face where he scrunches his nose because he can't stand the smell, which we'll get to in a second when we talk about the symbolism. And then that's when he's just had it, he's done, and he stabs Mr. Kim as well because there was a knife. And years go by, it shows that Mr. Kim escaped, Jessica, the daughter of the Kim family, passed away, the son Kevin had a concussion because he actually got hit by a rock because of the man in the basement, and the man in the basement's stabbed, he's also gone. And then the Park family's gone from that house. And then it shows that the son, Kevin, gets brain surgery, and now Mr. Kim is living in the basement, which is such a coincidence because of the people in the basement, that's why they ended up in the state that they are right now. But it's also because of all the other events and getting everyone to work for the rich family. So that was basically the entire plot of the movie. And then I think I forgot to include that this takes place in South Korea, basically, so it's not in English either. But all of that was just crazy, and I know that was so much, but we're going to unpack it in just a second, and we're going to have a guest speaker talk about the symbolism, because that is why, like, this segment is so important, because of the symbolism within this film, and I feel like it's so important to go over. Okay, so now that was the plot line of Parasite, and now I have a special guest with me. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Mason.
And we're going to be talking about the symbolism within Parasite, because I feel like that's what really makes the movie. And we're also going to talk about the reviews at the end with our reviews, and then looking at other ones. So obviously within Parasite, like the plot line we just went over, there's so much more into that mainly like first time viewers might not realize, and like I didn't even realize. But the more I like research more about it, and like figured out that the filmmaker Bong Joon-ho put lots of intention within certain aspects. So Mason, did you notice anything that like had elements in it or like represented certain themes in Parasite?
Oh yeah, I think one of the main theme in Parasite was classism, the difference in wealth between the Parks and the
Kims. Yeah, for sure. I feel like the first thing that I figured out, like kind of like understood, was like the smell that goes on within like the entire plot of the movie. So like we hear about it in the middle because Mr. Park, the rich dad, is like talking about how like poor people have this like smell to them, you know? And like what else? Did he say something else about that?
So Mr. Park noticed that Mr. Kim kind of smelled like the subway.
Yeah.
That was one thing in particular that kind of represented the poor part of society. And he also noticed that like they all smelled the same. Like, no matter how much like they could like pretend and like act like as part of like the wealthier side of life, like they would always be.
They always like had that stench with them, which I think also goes into the ending when all the fighting is happening. Like Mr. Kim like is about to hand the keys over to Mr. Park, but because he starts putting like his hand because like it smells, that's when you're like, oh my gosh, there's that divide again. And that's also why he decides to stab Mr. Park, because of like this different socialism that's going on. So that was one of the big things that is like highlighted throughout, and like I noticed that one.
Yeah, another thing I saw in the movie was like the rock. What do you think that symbolizes?
Oh my gosh, I almost forgot about the rock. Basically, it's like shown at the beginning that Kevin, the son, has it with him because I think like he wants it to be like good fortune, like wealth, and like his friend gave it to him, and like he gets this job with like a rich family. But the more it goes on, it's doing the exact opposite. Like it's like causing bad for his entire family, and like he keeps saying that it's finding him, but he keeps holding on to it. And that's why like after the big flood that happens in their home, he's like still holding on to it. And then coincidentally at the end, like I love this, it's so like perfectly put together that he gets when the like poor guy that was in the basement gets out, he ends up beating Kevin's head with the rock itself because he brought it down with him, of course. And I think that was just like perfectly played out to show how like it's ironic how it's going against what it was supposed to be, but he still keeps it with him. So that was a big one. Thank you for reminding us. The last kind of part that I think goes into like the cinematography is like the crossing lines, which like shows like hierarchy and status, like Mason mentioned. Like it's showing like this different like difference going on between the rich family and the poor family. And I love that because it shows like a visual crossing a boundary. And like, did you like notice that like when it was like the window and like the rich family really looking out, there's like that line, like it's a physical line, but it like you don't see it as a viewer. You're just like, oh, like that's just like a window, you know?
Yeah, the cinematography was awesome. Like it was filmed in a way so that there were like physical lines on the screen separating the Parks and the Kims, and like any rich and poor parts.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's like such a big theme in this movie. And like I'm glad we were able to go deep into that. And there's so much more too, but for the sake of time, we will be going now to the reviews. But those were the main details that I think so many viewers can get a hold of. And like if you're a first time watcher, like now you'll like know, like knowing that in the back of your head that this is what is like supposed to be intentionally placed by the filmmaker. And then, so I'm going to go with my review now. I'll go first. I give it a 10 out of 10, honestly, because the intentionality with the filmmaking by Bong Joon-ho is like perfect with the character placement. The idea of the story itself was genuinely amazing. The visuals were good. Like you can tell that they had a high budget and they utilized it pretty well. And also like it wasn't in English either, and they still did a great job with that. I feel like I'm like highlighting the plot as well because like besides like the imagery and like the use of symbolism within like the visual aspects as well as like the rock and like the physical aspects, the plot itself was very well played out, because I feel like it's like really hard these days to make like films that have like a good meaning behind them and are like meant to symbolize something else by also making it entertaining. And I like that it wasn't just like entertainment, even though it was thrilling, but it did keep you on your toes. Did you like, like you saw that plot line? And then I also liked how it was different from the other movies that I've done on this channel, but I think it was very similar to Begonia because it shows like the acts of human nature, which again like influences viewers, and like the whole reason I'm even doing this channel is to like figure that out. So Mason, let's get here on your review.
I'd absolutely give it a 9 or 10 out of 10. Again, cinematography was fantastic. The movie was very clearly amazingly made. The story, as you said, was fantastic. Kept me on my toes, and I get the themes of like classism and like all the symbolism that was throughout it was very prevalent. It was an awesome movie.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so now we're going to be getting into the Reddit reviews. And also Rotten Tomatoes. I just figured out that like Reddit might have like better specific ones because some of the Rotten Tomatoes ones are pretty basic. So this is just a normal one by some guy named Audio Cinematic, and it was from 4 years ago. And this movie came out in 2019, by the way. So he said, so many emotions from the entire movie, times when it's laugh out loud comedy, and other times when it was stomach turning and on the edge of your seat suspense. I've only ever watched Old Boy and Memories of Murder in terms of Korean movies, but all three have been flawless from what I've seen online, and there's so many more to watch. And then he just talks about other movies he wants to see. But I definitely think like there was that comedic relief to it, which is like also what made it more entertaining, like I was saying. But then like the fact that like all the plot lines add up to the very ending, it's like, oh, like what's gonna happen? Oh, there's a guy in the basement, So I agree with that. He didn't really give it a rating. He kind of just like talked about it. And other people like commented back and they were like, yeah, like I like that it goes from comedy to straight horror, and it was like perfectly executed. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I thought the movie did that very well. It kind of ramped up very fast at the end. Like we go straight from the Kim family just kind of sitting drinking in the house while the Park family's away, and then like instantly something comes in and the whole movie changes. It was just awesome.
So then also somebody in Rotten Tomatoes said, from independent, it's like a just independent company in UK, said Bong Joon-ho's work is as playful as it is sincere and revelatory. He'll make you feel at home but then rip the rug out from under you, which is exactly what he does. Like he wants you to get like this connection with the characters, which I think so many filmmakers struggle doing with their movies, but then he's able to like make you have this connection with them, figure out like more into their lives, and then all of a sudden like havoc is like going out everywhere.
Absolutely, I got that too.
And other people are just saying like it's a good roller coaster of horror and laughter, but terror in equal measure. I like that. And then other people were saying how it relates to good classism because like, it's very hard to get through that these days. Like from Fandango, there's just like other people, and they mentioned that like 5 out of 5 stars, that this masterpiece about social classes was so intense in the IMAX theater because most people like see it on the big screen, which is like amazing. Other people said that the third act was rough, but it still had like something that like it's like incredibly gory, but like has like a meaning to it. So it's not just being like all gory and violence, So somebody's watched it. They watched it 4 times already, which is crazy. So anyways, that was our reviews and the whole idea behind Parasite, and I think it's so important that we like went over this because this is one of my favorite movies that I've done for this, and it really shows like the idea between like perception, social classes, thoughts behind family like arrangement, because obviously the con artist, but then the rich family, and then it's just different from the other ones we've done. And I think the whole like answering the question of like how like specific movies influence culture and society, like this one specifically goes into society, which is so important, and I'm glad we were able to do that. So thank you so much, Mason, and thank you for listening. Stay tuned for more.
Thank you for having me.